Welcome to Women of the Wise Path, a place for fostering open discussions about womanhood in our new world paradigm. We are a collective of holistic practitioners, coaches, and leaders devoted to supporting women as we navigate the shifting landscape of our times. Through conversations on health, culture, spirituality, motherhood, partnership, business, and transformation, we intend to spark connections, bridge generations, and share wisdom about what it means to support women of today. Welcome to Women of the Wise Path.
Hello and welcome to the Women of the Wise Path. My name is Sharon Ann Rose and I am hosting this conversation where we have already begun and will continue to delve deep into the rite of passage of menopause for women and what that represents for us, especially in these times, which are very different than our foremothers and grandmothers. And so today I'm welcomed by Kelly, Lena, and Claudia, who will be introducing themselves and sharing with you a little bit more about their work and their heart. I work in the field of women's empowerment, sharing sacred rites of passage for women at the threshold of change and transition, really drawing upon ancestral wisdom, modern ritual, and the capacity to be in connection with your deeper truth, especially through the changing seasons and waters of your life. So thank you for joining me here today. I'm so honored to be amongst these beautiful women and leaders in this field. And Kelly, would you begin us off and introduce yourself?
Hello, everyone. And ladies, it's a pleasure to be here with all of you today. My name is Kelly Martino. My business is Menopause Redesign, and I work with perimenopausal and menopausal women so they understand the changes that are coming and currently going on in their body, and also the health risks that can crop up when we are in menopause. There's also a huge component, which is mindset. And I'm sure that we'll get a little more into that, but how menopause is definitely not an ending, but a tremendous opportunity and beginning for women.
Thank you, Kelly.
I'll go next. Yeah. My name is Lena Milosevic. I live in Europe, in Italy. And my work revolves around women mainly. I'm a healer, I'm a coach, I host retreats, and I'm the founder of Tidal Flow Women's Festival in Croatia. That is once a year at the beginning of September. And working with women, I work with women of all ages. And lately, though, what I'm noticing that those that come around midlife, right, the midlife rites of passage, the menopause, it's women who at this transition, menopause is a transition, right? And what they come for and what I really help them with is this transition that creates insecurity. Who am I? I'm not the woman that I was before, and I'm transitioning something new, and holding space for finding that, what do I now want to do? Who do I want to be for the rest of my life? Because it is a true turning point. So that's what my work centers around.
And my name is Claudia. I'm Italian, but I live in Bulgaria. I hold a master's degree in nutrition, and I'm a certified menopause coach. I work with women both one-on-one in group settings and help them navigate perimenopause and menopause. I also run an Etsy shop where I sell downloadables and printable resources that are designed to educate and support women through this transition. But also I have some merchandise that it adds like a playful touch around menopause, because it's good education, but also it's also nice to keep it light somehow. Because actually I believe that knowledge is power, and I am passionate about making menopause education more mainstream. But I also would love to have everyone talking about menopause like it's a natural topic. Like we talk about pregnancy, for example, and pregnancy is like it's an important stage in a woman's life for the women who had children. But also, why don't we talk more about menopause? So my goal is with all the things that I'm doing is to keep the topic more mainstream and everyone can just talk freely about it, not being ashamed or be shy about it.
Beautiful. Ah, can we feel what is here? The level of resourcing and wisdom, and also the beautiful synergy between us. So on that note, I would love to hear from each of you kind of what this stage, whether it's for you personally or the women you work with, what really brings forward as, you know, like a core theme or something you're noticing that you didn't expect, that we're not used to, again, talking about menopause. Like what is the deeper essence and message for you that you've noticed about menopause? Anyone, whoever feels like they want to go for it first, please do.
For me, there's one theme that sort of keeps shining through, not explicitly, like it's not worded like that, but I would give it the name of freedom. Many women, not all of us, but many come into menopause in a time of their life when there's some change happening. Those who have children, very often the children start getting older, right? Like most or many women that in my circle are in that phase where the children start getting older, which refocuses, you know, where energies go, like and in which ways they go. And that has been for me personally like quite a turning point, because I'm a mother of 3 young women. The youngest is 14 now, and I'm realizing she's having a very different mother than my eldest, who's 22, when she was 14, right? Because it's like now I'm 4 years in, more or less, into menopause, and I'm just on a completely different path, right? And really reclaiming my own freedom from things that or systems or structures that I was in when I was younger, you know, that all that entails raising a family and a certain type of work. And so it's this freedom into really choosing and becoming not somebody else, but sort of more myself. And I noticed that also in other women, the women that I work with. It's just this huge theme of freedom. Whether that's easy to step in or not, like, you know, it sounds so nice, but what I'm noticing is actually there's a lot of resistance and difficulty, and you know, am I allowed to actually, and all that sorts of thought that is just bang on the table, right? Or for so many. Yeah, so that's the theme that I really see. And
for me, a theme, if I could choose a word, it would be change. That could be positive or negative. Positive, more like towards freedom, like Lena said, but also like what is happening to my body. So there are changes happening that many women are not aware of, like why am I suddenly like missing words? Why am I not sleeping well anymore? Why my skin is breaking? So it's changes that if you're not educated, if you don't know why this is happening to you, then you can feel lost. You can feel that you don't have power over your body anymore. And that could bring you also towards like a worse path, you know, it's like, what is wrong with me? And then the change also happens to your mental health. So for me, change is important, like being aware of what is happening, but how can you embrace the change so that you can actually go towards more of a positive path. Okay, change is happening, but something good can actually happen through this change.
I'm sitting here thinking, what is one word? And in honesty, I can't give you a one word, because what's going through my mind right now is all of the health challenges. And I guess that kind of segs into how we view ourselves at this time of our lives. Are we not as healthy as we lose muscle mass, as we lose our thoughts, our train of thoughts? These are all things that I think we as women, we try to be accepting of it, but they're difficult physiological challenges, and then they're difficult mindset challenges that yes, we want to take the best care of ourselves that we can, but maybe now we're experiencing joint pain, or maybe our lives are so busy that we are kind of falling down on the ladder as far as being important. And so I think mindset for me, because many of the women that I speak to, it's like an opportunity, I guess. I'll give you that word. It's an opportunity, because now we get to really focus on ourselves, just like Lena said, and we can open up to the opportunities that are before us. And that includes all of the health challenges that can come with menopause, but it also includes how we think of ourselves and like what do we want to create at this time.
Yeah, as you were each speaking, and I've used these words many times in my work before, but putting so meaning like rebirth, reclaim, restore, renew, recycle, reword, for me and for the community of women I serve, there's this taking everything that we've ever experienced, whether it was personally for ourselves, whether it was in our upbringing, whether it's in our culture, and reimagining it, really reclaiming, like, no, this isn't going to work for me that way anymore. I need to repattern not only myself, but I need to repattern every relationship I exist inside of. And that is bravery. That is immense courage. That is, a true warrioress coming into a time in her life where she's asked to re-bolden, but not in like a ferocious way, really bring boldness again to who she wants to remember herself to be. Love this. And so based on some of the different things you said, this threshold, it requires so much of us. And it can go in one direction, it can go in the other. It's really up to us to define that, to redefine that. What do you feel, we were talking a little bit before we started the recording, helps to bring stability, helps to bring assurance, helps to bring confidence, really in a season of immense chaos, truly, like it's really chaotic. And what do you think helps to ultimately support a woman's, whether it's her physiological, her mental, her emotional, spiritual system, to feel like she can walk, and Claudia, you spoke about, like, we talk about pregnancy all the time, and it's that same thing. Like, what can a woman do to realize this is a rite of passage as old as humanity itself, and yet it feels ever more chaotic than ever before? And so what will stabilize her? What will help her walk through that with confidence that she's got this?
I guess on one side is knowledge, because, I mean, knowledge that we need to seek, because unfortunately it's not easily available. And it's not just information that somehow comes to us. We need to go out there and seek for it. And luckily, I think the last couple of years, the menopause is spoken more loud. Like you can hear like big podcasters inviting menopause specialists on their podcast, even like male podcaster, which is, I think it's amazing, something that has never been seen before. So the information is getting out there. But as a woman, I think it's fundamental that we need to look for the information ourselves. And I think in every country, situations are also different right now. I can see the difference in different countries in Europe. Like talking about it, like the information that my friends in Italy have that are my age, they're not the same that I have. The information that comes through the language that you speak, I think it's just still just so complicated. Everything is just so new that it's our responsibility to, if we want to take care of ourselves, to look for the information. So I think, yeah, finding that information that we need and then just experiment what works for you. Because every woman's body is different, right? And you can get lots of information that you need to do this is good for you, this is bad for you. Well, is it really? Because sometimes like you can go on a supplement that has been recommended. It's this supplement for menopause that, now the industry is selling magical supplements for menopause. And it's like, is it really what I need? And so it is a matter of trust your body, like really connect with your body, learn about your body, and experiment, try, and see what works for you. I think that's very important.
I really like that, because without the knowledge, we don't understand like what this whole process is about. So Claudia, I think that was wonderful. And I'll add to that with self-acceptance, because there are so many marketing things out there. There are so many people who are currently telling us that we should be a certain way, we should look a certain way, we should wear a certain set of clothes, you can't have your hair a certain way as you age. There are all these kind of rules that are imposed on women as we age. And I feel like being able to look beyond those rules, because those rules they're imposed by someone else. And listening to our bodies again and looking at, well, what are the rules that I want to live by? Because if I want to color my hair purple, then it's absolutely fine. And if I want to wear a bikini, that's absolutely fine. And so I think that self-acceptance of where we are, what we currently look like, and just really focusing on like accepting these changes, because, and I think Sharon Ann, I think you had mentioned that this is something that women all go through. And, you might be 20 now thinking, oh, those women, they're nuts. That's never going to happen to me. But we know very well that it will. And the challenges are real. And I think accepting those challenges and the changes as they come, and just the word grace keeps coming to my mind. Giving ourselves grace and giving others grace and support in this time of change.
I use that as a segue for, the grace is exactly that. That's exactly it, like the grace with ourselves and especially with others, because I think what is really important is community. it's community, it's the coming together, whether that's, virtually in spaces like these, and which, Sharon, you really set up so beautifully and created the space for it, but also within our own friendship circles, or, it might be even work colleagues or things. It's like I shared earlier how I shared a health challenge that I was facing that is because of menopause, and something that I didn't know, where I was like, oh my God, how come? Like, I'm so informed, right? Like I thought I was, like I knew a lot, and I do know a lot, but this I didn't know. It's related to osteoporosis, right? Which I didn't know. And, listening to my body, which I do a lot. It's such a silent thing. Like there's literally no symptom until it's too late, right? And mine was discovered through imaging, and it was, and I'm still like in a pre-stage where I can actually do something about it. But I was like, oh my God, when I spoke out about this, because I was like, oh my God, I want every woman to know that there's something that you can do in terms of screening. So you find out at a moment where you can actually do something about it still. And so many women in my closer circle came out and saying, oh my God, thank you. I didn't know that. Or, oh my God, yeah, same thing happened to me. Nobody talks about it. And it's this community, right? Like we actually started meeting up for coffee now. Yeah, and it is a whole bunch of women just in my friendship circle, right, of international women where I live here now. And it's just so much easier in community. And in community, the grace and the acceptance becomes a key factor, because it's exactly, Kelly, what you said. It's like, when if I'm not able to accept myself at the moment with whatever I'm presenting physically, but if I'm met by a woman that can gently hold me in that, I can, sort of soften into that and just, and just be, and not be something else or somebody else that I might think I have to be. So for me, it's this experience of community that is just so healing on so many levels. Because we pass on information, so we sort of educate each other, point ourselves to, as practitioners, practices, resources, and all of that. But for me, it's very much the emotional, just the presence. Yeah. Being in the presence of other women that can sort of hold or cry with me, laugh with me, laugh at me. I was like, okay, that's like, if she's laughing at me, it can't be that terrible. Let's just laugh together, right? Yeah. So.
Can I add to that, vulnerability, like be able to share, like even the weirdest symptoms that you have, the ones that you're ashamed of. But if you are surrounded by the right people, then, you can just open up, and then you will eventually see that you're not the only one who is having those weird symptoms. You should not be ashamed of. It's a matter of, okay, what is happening? This is a symptom. What is everyone doing? What can I do? And so the permission to be vulnerable in front of other women who are experiencing the same. And sometimes, we are not vulnerable because we're ashamed. It's like, oh no, I don't want to share this. My God, people are going to laugh at me. You don't want to be laughed at, maybe, or, depending on the people who you're surrounding yourself by. So yeah, community and the freedom to be vulnerable in front of that community, it can be powerful.
Yeah, and it's causing me to consider, what wisdom would you share with women to strike? And I don't want to use the term balance, because we all know that is not the achievement we're going for per se, but when to lean into others, when to pull into oneself, when to go for the information and the knowledge, from outside, when to turn towards the knowledge inside, and knowing that this threshold is a huge one to go ever deeper with your body than you've ever done before, and really come to trust it. And to know there's some people who will really support that. And there's some people in the field who don't, and are asking you to almost, like many of you said, be somebody different than what your system and your maturation process is asking you to be, whether that's, again, going on hormones or not, coloring your hair or not, all the different things. So what is that? It's an art, but knowing, sensing when it's good to lean into community, to bring something forward to that, to know and to become really resilient and listen to yourself, and what some parameters maybe, or suggestions you might share around that.
I'll take this one first. I think, kind of what Claudia had said earlier about knowledge, I think it's never too soon. Because we are now entering into perimenopause in our late 30s in some cases. And so why I remember being in my late 30s, having had my last child and kind of not thinking much of it, being at work, and all of a sudden uniforms were a little bit tight. And I thought, well, my goodness, like why? Why? I'm eating all the right things, I'm exercising, and of course I wasn't doing this then, and I didn't understand. But it was really like, now that I know a little bit more, I'm like, oh, that was like the beginning for me. That was like that little progesterone bump that sometimes we can get, and we do this little weight gain. Of course, what did I do? I beat myself up and ate even less and worked even harder, all of the things that were exactly what I shouldn't have done. But that's why I think that knowledge, you just can't go wrong with the right knowledge, because you can be prepared for some of the health challenges that are out there. If you know you have a strong cardiac history in your family, and you know that there are some times when your heart feels like it's literally beating out of your chest, then, well, tachycardia, when your heart beats very quickly, that can be part of a hot flash. It can be part of menopause, but not knowing that, it's very frightening. So I think, I'm not sure if I answered your question 100%, but I feel like it's never too early to start looking into that. And I think the other piece of your question was more around like tuning into our bodies. And I honestly feel the earlier we learn to do that, the better, because we're learning to trust ourselves. We're learning that just because someone suggests something, it might not be our best choice. And I wish that I had heard that and knew about that many years ago, because I think my decision-making process would have been easier in some cases if I had thought to, I'm going to sit with this decision and kind of tune in to like, what is my, if not my gut, what is my heart telling me? So yeah, that the knowledge, and definitely that being very mindful of what your body is telling you.
I'd like to add on to that, because I work a lot in the field of like listening to your body and what about this, and what I'm seeing lately is just there's so much misinformation of what that means, like listening to your body. Very often it's seen as like lean into what feels good, or lean into what feels expansive. And however, I think there's a catch to that, because when we have fear, or when we face something that we are afraid of, that we're a bit scared of, it will not feel good, because there's a contraction that happens, when we step into fear or towards fear. It's a stressor, and it doesn't really feel good in our bodies. However, we naturally fear change. right? Whether it's an expansion, when I'm actually moving towards something that is really good for me and it's the right thing, I will still feel some level of fear and it will feel uncomfortable. And so I see a lot of misinterpretation. I see a lot of women really getting stuck where they are and not doing themselves good, right? They're not doing what even their heart is calling for, let alone the body, what even the body would be calling for, because they misread the sign, right? They misinterpret this, listening to your body, listening to my gut, by thinking that it is the feel good. And so what I like to sort of tell women when they're asking these questions and sort of trying to figure out, because it's a trying to figure out, that's what it is, right? Like we're not going to have, or maybe some people have that certainty. However, most of us don't, right? There's always some level of uncertainty. Sometimes it's higher, sometimes it's lower. So what I sort of like to use as a sort of as a compass is checking in with myself. Am I fearing something because it's challenging me in some way? Or am I actually feeling the contraction because I'm just getting a hard line? No, this because it's not true, because it doesn't ring with my heart. And it's a subtle difference, because with time I've really come to learn and to understand the difference in the sensation and the feeling, when there's also that my heart is actually calling towards me, and a part of me, like that language, one part of me really knows, and it's my heart knows this is the path. But another part is going to be, no, we can't possibly do that. Sometimes it's just sheer stubbornness, right? Out of habit or out of a way of thinking. And sometimes it's just because some memory is surfacing, maybe not even consciously, of similar situations where I've got hurt or was, looked down upon or ridiculed or whatever it is, right? We all have those experiences to some level in our past. So it's this really, the question is, am I choosing to not move forward? Like, am I acting out of fear, or am I acting out of truth and curiosity? Like, that for me is this, and I think that applies to everything. Like, do I have to be on my own? Do I have to just sit with myself and sort of stew in what's there and really feel it, or do I actually need support here? And for those that struggle to get support, we usually know it at some level. Like, I usually do things on myself, and I struggle to ask for help. So you might actually miss the sign that when you need help, and that's the fear of something. So it's interesting and helpful to look like, where am I coming from when I'm choosing to ask for help, to stay on my own, to listen to my body, or get advice from somebody? Where am I coming from? Yeah. Mm-hmm. It's complex. This is really complex. It's so many layers to that. Yeah.
Yeah, the balance you were talking about, Sharon, and I think it is like a balance that you on one side you want to reach out, on one side you want to be more like in yourself. Like, I think you need both, because on one side you need to figure out, well, this is a change happening in your life. So you need to figure out, what is it that I want this change to be? What do I want my body to feel? What do I want from this stage of life? And so what action am I going to take? So it's like you can make a plan of, okay, this is a new stage of my life. This is what I want to do. How am I going to go there? But then on the other side, I like to lean on my husband. So it's like, whenever it's happening, anything with me, my husband knows about it. And I think this is very important for those women who are in relationships, that their partner are aware of everything. And we shouldn't be afraid or shy or anything. We are allowed to open up because men don't know anything about this. And they need to be educated. So it's our job to educate them. I mean, men, then of course, there are people who are in a relationship with other women. I think maybe that's better, easier for them. But those who are in a relationship with men, I think it's hard and we need to educate them. And I think they can, all of them, they can be supportive if they understanding what is happening with you and how they can help you. So I think that's very important. And I mean, it can be partner, it can also be friends, right? It can be family members, it can be brothers, whoever, like all the men that they surround us.
Such rich perspective. Thank you. And the nuances that each of you, have brought into this conversation. Very, very meaningful. So as we begin to wind down, I'm wondering if you might share something, because, this is such an important aspect of this time in a woman's life where she could very much personalize all these symptoms as, it's my fault, I did something wrong, I should, like you said a lot, Claudia, I should be ashamed, I should feel bad. Like, what suggestion would you provide around really dismantling that notion that anything that she's going through is somehow her fault or bad or wrong, based on, and Lena, you brought this in quite beautifully, as if it could then be something we should have known sooner, or we should have done something about sooner to take away, that symptom, or just lead, like, be the vision of the ultimate health, and not have any of these challenges.
Well, the question is, I think, is is it really necessary to not have all these challenges? That's just what are we talking about here? It's the same. It's not the same, but it's very comparable to puberty, right? Teenagers have breakouts. They have pimples. Boys' voices break. Girls develop they change physically, right? They change physically, and yet as a society, we sort of look at that and it's like, oh, look how cute, normal, right? Like the elders, like who's older, sort of thinks it's cute. Teenagers obviously think it's horrible, and they're really struggling, like on all levels, right? And menopause is the equivalent. It's just on the other end, right? For women, at least, it is that phase. Like, it's a hormonal change. It's a different life phase. And I'm just like, as you were talking, it's like, does it really need to be symptom free? Like, what's that even? Like, do we want to be the free climber at age 75? Like, do I really need that? Or is that also a glorification of the young, able body? Like, how much are we actually, like, what are we actually going for? Right? What are we actually going for? Of course, I want to be healthy and strong and able to do everything, but I'm just starting to question, like, is that really so? Like, what do I want aging to look like for me? Like, what is really important, and what am I able to accept and live with? And what is acceptable and what's natural and what isn't? And again, it is so complex and it's very individual. Like, answers to these questions are very personal and individual to everyone. But and we also live much longer, right? So the time that women pass in menopause has become so much longer over the years. a few generations back, you'd sort of, go into menopause, and then it's like, 5 to 10 years, right? And then that's it. And now it's like you're talking 30, for some even 40 years in menopause. It's a lot. It's a huge change. So yeah, it's like, why shouldn't there be, like, how much change symptoms, in the transitioning years? So I'm talking perimenopause into menopause, like that's where it all happens, then sort of does settle down for most women, like to some sort of stability. But it's like, is that inherently wrong, right? And of course, teenagers use, creams, they might take supplements, and it's not, don't do anything about it, but it's personal. But what I'm questioning is, are we really after the symptom-free that sort of implies nothing's happening? Yeah. That was a bit of a rant, wasn't it?
Yeah. Gorgeous. Gorgeous.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I guess what I'm thinking as you're saying that is, that was not a rant. That was perfect. I think it goes back to, who do we want to be at this time of our life? Do we want to be the mountain climber? Do we want to be the one who plays with our children? Do we want to start a business in menopause? What do you want? Because it's now your opportunity. It's wide open. So what do you want? You don't have children to run around after. They're adults. They get to be who they want to be, and you get to be who you want to be. And I think that that's a tremendous opportunity that we should focus on, as opposed to worrying about the fact that we're leaving our childbearing years behind. I don't know if that makes any sense to you ladies, but it feels like like you said, Lena, it is a very individual choice. For me, I fall on the side of keeping my body as healthy as I can, so that I can travel and I can play with my granddaughter, and I can basically choose to throw all that out the window and choose something totally different. And that there is nothing wrong with that. And like I said earlier, if I want to wear a bikini, wear the bikini. Live this time in your life. Live this time, celebrate this time. Sharon, you had mentioned, the wise woman. Absolutely. We have so much wonderful knowledge, and using that knowledge to now create this beautiful, wonderful experience for the rest of our lives. So that's where I land on all of that.
Yeah, but it's also very in our face that we don't have unlimited time anymore, right? That's also just true, because in this phase of life, it just comes, for some of us, it's sort of midlife-ish. For some, it comes later, when you're in your 50s. If you, turn into menopause, it's sort of evident that that's beyond halfway, right, for most. So yeah, it's also very much like there's an urgency also that comes inherently with that passage, right? And where you go, it's like, and that's really where to take action and do it, right? Like, there's some definite choices to be made, right?
There's no better time to start taking care of ourselves. Absolutely. Exactly. And dipping into that knowledge and being 100% aware that we may have some things that we now can't keep putting off. We get to be in the forefront, and we should be in the forefront.
And regarding the symptoms, I think it's also a matter of the impact those symptoms have in your life. I think most women, they're not even aware that they're having menopause symptoms, especially like during perimenopause, because they don't know what symptoms to look at, to look for. It's like, well, I'm not sleeping well. I'm just stressed out. It's because of the kids, I have so much to do. Well, maybe it's also perimenopause. So there are many symptoms that first of all, we are not aware they are connected to menopause, but also maybe they don't have a huge impact on our life because we have been sleep deprived for many years when we had, I don't have kids, but I'm saying like women who have had kids, I know they have been sleep deprived for many years probably. And so it's like, well, this is just normal. And I think it's like what impact have, first of all, is a matter of understanding, having the list, seeing the list of all the symptoms that can be associated with perimenopause and menopause. And then just be aware if you're experiencing any of those symptoms, and if those symptoms can be connected to something else, or maybe they're mostly perimenopause. And then on the second step is, do I want to take action? If it's something that is not bothering me, then whatever. But if it's something that is impacting my life, because maybe I want to start a new business and I just want to be energized. I want to have the right mindset. I want to remember everything. So maybe I do need to do something about those symptoms. So it's, what impact do they have on your life?
Thank you so much, each of you, for going deep here and being very intimate with this, the underbelly, you know, the often the unspoken about menopause. I so deeply appreciate your hearts, your wisdom, your expertise, and your lived experience. And I am wondering how listeners can stay abreast of your work, your offerings, your creations, and connecting with you.
I can go first. Well, I have my website, is 𝘠𝗪𝗓.com. I'm not active on social media right now. I had burnout last year, so I'm like over social media, except LinkedIn sometimes. But I've recently started an Etsy shop, and people can find me at Menopause Coach. And that's it. So website and Etsy.
Thank you, Claudia. Kelly, would you like to share?
Sure. My website is Menopause Redesign. I am on social media under Kelly Martino. And I do hear what you're saying, no, Claudia. Social media is challenging, but feel free to reach out to me at kelly@menopauseredesign.com. You can reach me through that anytime. And thank you so much for this opportunity today. This has been wonderful speaking with you ladies.
Yeah, so with me, you can find me at my website, which will be in the notes to this recording. It's 𝘠𝑚𝗏𝗍𝑐𝑗.com. And I'd actually love to connect with you in person if you come to Europe, or we'd love to come to Europe. It's especially at the Women's Festival at the beginning of September. So if you look up Tidal Flow Festival, you'll find that. It's on my website as well. And I really hope to connect with some of the women listening. And I'd love to keep this conversation going. Like, even if some of you have a comment, it's like, there's this thing that you said and I don't agree, or I agree. Just get into conversations. I love to talk about this. So thank you.
Thank you, each of you. Such an honor. Such an honor.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for joining us today for Women of the Wise Path. Continue the journey with more conversation, events, and resources at the address below. We'd love to hear from you and what you would like to talk about. Together, we're shaping a future rooted in wisdom, collaboration, and the infinite power of the feminine spirit. Until next time, may we walk all together the wise path, guided from within.